Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Magnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupah Kata Mahyam Darati Svapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Tapatakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrijatam Saganaragunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः नमां विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तना हृद्यन्दस्तोयपत्राणि विदुनोति सुहृत्सतां नष्टप्रायेष्वपत्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भागवति उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Before reciting the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Shri Vyasadeva, the author. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the person of God who is praised with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Ananda Gaudiya Vaishnavanda ki jai, Shla Prabhupada ki jai, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Shla Prabhupada. Thank you for
Krishna
joining.
Prabhu, accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Now we are slowly switching to the summer time, so we are getting earlier on the reading sessions.
Okay, noted.
Here we go. Anyone wants to read first?
I'll read first.
Yes, Prabhu, thank you.
Text 44, 54, 55. Okay. Divya vajanta turyanim pethum kusuma vlitayaham munayast tustam jaggul gandalvaki nalaham Nilichanti sma striyo devya ashit palaman mangalam deva brahmadaya salve upatastu labitasvai. Divi, in the heavenly planets, Avadyanta vibrated, Turyani, a band of instrument, Pituhu, they showed, Kushuma of flowers, Vlitayaham, showers, Munayaham, the sages, Tushtuvuhu, chanted Vedic prayers, Tushta, pacified, Chagu, begin to sing. Gandharva, the Gandharva. Kinala, the Kinala. Nrityanti, Sma, danced. Striyaham, the beautiful damsels. Devyaham, of the heavenly planets. Asit, were visible. Palama Mangalam, the highest good fortune. Devaham, the demigods. Brahma Hadayaham, Brahma and others. Salve, all. Upadastuhum, worship. Abish, Tabahai, with respectful prayers. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jaya. In the heavenly planets, bands began to play, and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven, known as Gandharva and Kinnaras, sang. The beautiful damsel of the heavenly planets danced, and in this way, at the time of appearance of Nala Narayana, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers. Deva uchuhum yo mayaya vilachitam nijayatmanidam kelupa bedam iva tatprachiksha chaksanayam etena dharma sadanilishimultinatya pradushchakalam purushaya namam palasma. Devaham, the demigods, Uchuhu, said, Yaha, Mayaya, by the external energy. Vilachitam was created, Nijaya, by his own. Atmani, being situated in him. Idam, this Ke, in the sky. Rupa, Bedam, bunches of clouds. Iva, as if. Tat, Om himself. Pratikshak, Sanayam, for manifesting. Etena, with this. Dharma Sadhane, in the house of Dharma. Lishi Multina, with the form of the sage. Adya, today. Pradushchakala, appeared. Purushayam, unto the personality of Godhead. Namaha, respectful obeisances. Palasmai, the Supreme. Translation. The demigod said, let us offer our respectful obeisances unto the transcendental personality of Godhead, who created as his external energy this cosmic manifestation, which is situated in him as the air and clouds are situated in space, and who has now appeared in the form of Narayana Rishi, in the house of Dharma. Purport. The universal form of the Lord is in the cosmic manifestation, which is an exhibition of the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In space, there are innumerable varieties of planets and also the air. And in the air, there are variously colored clouds. And sometimes we see airplanes running from one place to another. Thus, the entire cosmic manifestation is full of variety, but actually that variety is in a manifestation of the external energy of the Supreme Lord, and that energy is situated in Him. Now, the Lord Himself, after manifesting His energy, appeared within the creation of His energy, which is simultaneously one with and different from himself, and therefore the demigods offered their respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who manifests himself in such varieties. There are some philosophers called non-dualists who, because of their impersonal conception, think that the varieties are false. In this verse, it is specifically stated, Yo Mayaya Vilachitam. This indicates that the varieties are a manifestation of the energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, because the energy is non-different from the Godhead, the varieties are also factual. The material varieties may be temporary, but they are not false. They are a reflection of the spiritual varieties. Here, the word pratikshaksanaya, they are varieties, announce the glories of the Supreme Personality of Godhead who appear as Nala Narayana Rishi, and who is the origin of all varieties of material nature. Text 57. Yoyam stiti vyaktikalo pashamayal shlistan satvenaham sulaganan anumeya tadvam drishyadababla adablam kalunena vilokanenam yakshri nikketamamalam kshipatala vindam saha, that I am stiti of the created world, vyatikala calamities, upashamaya for destroying, shlistan created, satvena by the modes of goodness, naham us, shura ganan the demigods, anumeya tadva understood by the Vedas, trishyat glance over, adadbra kalu nena merciful, vilokanena cleanse, yat which, Shri-Niketam, the home of the goddess of fortune, Amalam, spotless, Kshipatam, supersedes, Halavindam, lotus. Translation: let that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is understood by truly authorized Vedic literatures and who has created peace and prosperity to destroy all calamities of the created world, be kind enough to bestow his grants upon the demigods. His merciful glance can supersede the beauty of the spotless lotus flower, which is the home of the goddess of fortune. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the origin of the cosmic manifestation, is covered by the wonderful activities of the material nature, just as outer space or the illumination of the sun and moon are sometimes covered by clouds or dust. It is very difficult to find the origin of the cosmic manifestation. Therefore, material scientists conclude that nature is the ultimate cause of all manifestation. But from Shastra or authentic literature like Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic scripture, we understand that behind this wonderful cosmic manifestation is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and in order to maintain the regular procedure of the cosmic manifestation and to be visible to the eyes of persons who are in mode of goodness, the Lord appear. He is the cause of the creation and dissolution of cosmic manifestation. The demigods therefore prayed for his merciful glance upon them in order to be blessed. I read another one and then someone else can read them. Text 458. Evam sulagana'istattam bhagavanta vishtutam labdavak lukhaya yatur architam gandama danam. Evam, thus, Suraganahi, by the demigods, Tata, O Vedura, Bhagavanta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Abhishtuta, having been praised, Labda, having obtained, Avalokkai, the glance of mercy, Yayatu, departed, Architau, having been worshipped, Gandamadanam, to the Gandamadana hill. Translation. Maitreya said, O Vidura, thus the demigods worship with prayers. The Supreme Personality of Godhead appeared as the sage Nala Narayana, and the Lord glanced upon them with mercy and then departed from Gandhamadana hill. Someone else can read. Thank you very much.
So, thank you
Jai
so
Shri
much, Prabhu.
Prabhupada.
Okay, I can read one verse. Text 59. Hare Krishna, Praveen Prabhu Tandar Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you for joining, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, stand up and Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Vimau vai Bhagavato Hare Ramsa Vihagatau Bharavyaya Yabchabhuva Krishna Yadu Kurudvahau. Tau, both, Imau, these, Vai, certainly, Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hare, of Hari, Amshau, part and parcel expansion, Iha, here, in this universe, Agatau, has appeared, Bharavyaya, for mitigation of the burden, Cha, and Bhuvaha, of the world, Krishna, the two Krishnas, Krishna and Arjuna, Yadu Kuru Udvahau, who are the best of the Yadu and Kuru dynasties, respectively. Translation. That Naranarayana Rishi, who is a partial expansion of Krishna, has now appeared in the dynasties of Yadu and Kuru, in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna respectively, in order to mitigate the burden of the world. Purport. Narayana is the Supreme Person of Godhead, and Nara is a part of the Supreme Person of Godhead, Narayana. Thus, the energy and the energetic together are the Supreme Person of Godhead. Maitreya informed Vidura that Nara, the portion of Narayana, had appeared in the family of the Kurus, and that Narayana, the plenary expansion of Krishna, had come as Krishna, the Supreme Person of Godhead, with the purpose of delivering the suffering humanity from the pangs of material burdens. In other words, Narayana Rishi was now present in the world in the forms of Krishna and Arjuna. Text number 60. Svaha bhimaninaschagnir atmajam strina jijanat pavakam pavamanam cha suchim cha hutabhojanam. Svaha, the wife of Agni, Abhimanina, the presiding deity of fire, Cha, and Agne from Agni, Atmajan, sons, Trin, three, Ajijanat, produced, Pavakam, Pavaka, Pavamananam, Pavamanam, Cha, and Pavamana, Suchim Cha, and Suchi, Uta Bhojanam, eating the oblations of the sacrifice. Translation. The predominating deity of fire begot in his wife Svaha 3 children, named Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, who exist by eating the oblation offered to the fire of sacrifice. Purport. After describing the descendants of the 13th wife of Dharma, who were all daughters of Daksha, Maitreya now describes the 14th daughter of Daksha, Svaha, and her 3 sons. Oblations offered in the sacrificial fire are meant for the demigods, and on behalf of the demigods, the 3 sons of Agni and Svaha, namely Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi, accept oblations. Text number 61. Tebhyo gnaya samabhavan chatvarim chascha panchacha ta eva kona panchasat sakampit Pitamahai. Tebya, from them. Agnaya, fire gods. Samabhavan were produced. Chatvarimshat, 40. Cha and Pancha, 5. Cha and Te, Eva, certainly. Ekona Panchasat, 49. Sakam, along with. Pitar Pitamahai, with the fathers and grandfathers. Translation. From those 3 sons another 45 descendants were generated, who are also fire gods. The total number of fire gods is therefore 49, including the fathers and the grandfather. Purport. The grandfather is Agni, and the sons are Pavaka, Pavamana, and Suchi. Counting these 4 plus 45 grandsons, there are altogether 49 different fire gods. Text number 62. वैतानिके कर्मणि यन् नामभिर्ब्रह्मवादिभिः अग्नेय इस्तयो यज्ञे निरूप्यन्ते ज्ञयस्तु ते. Vaitanike, offering oblations, karmani, the activity, yat, of the fire gods, namabi, by the names, brahmavadibi, by impersonalists, brahmanas, agneya, for Agni, ishtaya, sacrifices, yagne, in the sacrifice, nirupyante, are the objective, agnaya, the 49 fire gods, to but, te, those. Translation. These 49 fire gods are the beneficiaries of the oblations offered in the Vedic sacrificial fire by impersonalist Brahmanas. Purport. Impersonalists who perform Vedic fruitive sacrifices are attracted to the various fire gods and offer oblations in their name. The 49 fire gods are described herewith. Haribol. Okay, one straight next. Hare Krishna, Sridhar Krishna, Prabhu Dandar Pram, Jai Shri Prabhupada. Thank you for joining.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Standavat Pranam, Jai Shri Prabhupada. So early reading sessions, Prabhu today?
Yes, Prabhu. Now it's getting earlier because summer is coming.
Okay, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Who wants to read next?
I will.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
Text 63. Agnishwata barhishadaha saumyaha pitara ajyapaha sagnayonagnyas tesham patni dakshayani swadha. Synonyms. Agnishwata, the Agnishwatas. Barhishadaha, the Barhishadaha. Saumyaha, the Saumyas. Pitaraha, the forefathers. Ajyapaha, the Ajyapas. Sagnayaha, those whose means is by fire. Anangnayaha, those who means is without fire. Tesham, of them. Patni, the wife. Dakshayani, the daughter of Daksha. Swadha. Translation purport wise Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The Agnishwatas, the Barhishadas, the Saumyas, and the Ajyapas are the Pitris. They are either Sagnika or Niragnika. The wife of all these Pitris is Swadha, who is the daughter of King Daksha. Text 64. Tebhyo dadhara kanye dve vayunam dharinim swadha ubhete brahma vadinyau jagna vijnana parage. Synonyms. Tebhyaha, from them. Dadhara, produced. Kanye, daughters. Dve, 2. Vayunam, Vayuna. Dharinim, Dharini. Swadha, Ubhe, both of them. They, Brahmavadinau, impersonalists. Jnana Vijnana Parage, expert in both transcendental and Vedic knowledge. Translation. Swadha, who was offered to the Pitrus, who was offered to the Pitas, begot two daughters named Vayuna and Dharini, both of whom were impersonalists and were expert in transcendental Vedic knowledge. Text 65. भवस्य पत्नी तु सती भवम् एवम् अनुव्रता आत्मनः सदृश सदृशं पुत्रं न लेभे गुणशीलतः. Synonyms: भवस्य of Bhava, Lord Shiva, Patni, the wife, tu, but, Sati, named Sati, Bhavam, to Bhava, Devam, a demigod, Anuvrata, faithfully engaged in service, Atmanaha, of herself, Sadrisham, similarly, Putram, a son, na lebhe, did not obtain, Guna Silataha, by good qualities and by character. Translation: the 16th daughter, whose name was Sati, was the wife of Lord Shiva. She could not produce a child, although she always faithfully engaged in the service of her husband. Text 66. Pitarya अपरिति रूपे स्वे भवायानागन्से वृषा अपौरुढाई वात्मनात्मानम् अजहाद yoga samyuta. Synonyms: pitari, as a father; apariti rupe, unfavorable; sve, her own; bhavaya, unto Lord Shiva; anagase, faultless; rusha, with anger; apaurudha, before attaining maturity; eva, even; atmana, by herself; atmanam, the body; aja Ajahat, gave up; Yoga Samyuta, by mystic yoga. Translation: the reason is that Sati's father Daksha used to chastise Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's faultlessness. Therefore, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up her body by dint of yogic mystic power. Purport: Lord Shiva, being the head of all mystic yogis, never ever constructed a home for his residence. Sati was the daughter of a great king, Daksha, and because his youngest daughter Sati selected as her husband Lord Shiva, King Daksha was not very much satisfied with her. Therefore, whenever she met her father, he unnecessarily chastised her husband, although Lord Shiva was faultless. Because of this, before attaining a mature age, Sati gave up the body given by her father Daksha, and therefore she could not produce a child. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the fourth canto, first chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Geological Table of the Daughters of Manu. Chapter 2. Daksha curses Lord Shiva. Text 1.
Oh, what is this lag? 1 second.
Text 1. Vidrovacha भवे शीलवतां श्रेष्ठे दक्षो दुहित्र वत्सलः विद्वेषम् अकरोत् कस्माद् अनादृत्यात्मजं सतीं. Synonyms: Vidra Uvacha, Vidra said. 1 second, Prabhu. 1 second, Prabhu. Can someone read, please?
Vidura said, Bhave towards Lord Shiva, Shilavatam, among the gentle, Sreshte, the best, Daksha, Duhitir Vatsala, being affectionate towards his daughter, Vidvesham, enmity, Akarod, did exhibit, Kasmat, why, Anadritya, neglecting, Atmajam, his own daughter, Satim, Sati. Translation: Vidura inquired, why was Daksha, who was so affectionate towards his daughter, so envious of Lord Shiva, who is the best among the gentle. Why did he neglect his daughter Sati? Purport. In the second chapter of the fourth canto, the cause of the dissension between Lord Shiva and Daksha, which was due to a great sacrifice arranged by Daksha for the pacification of the entire universe, is explained. Lord Shiva is described here as the best of the gentle because he is not envious of anyone. He is equal to all living entities, and all other good qualities are present in his personality. Shiva means all auspicious. No one can be an enemy of Lord Shiva, for he is so peaceful and renounced that he does not even construct a house for his residence, but does live underneath a tree, always detached from all worldly things. The personality of Lord Shiva symbolizes the best of gentleness. Why then was Daksha, who offered his beloved daughter to such a gentle personality, so intensely inimical towards Lord Shiva that Sati, the daughter of Daksha and wife of Lord Shiva, gave up her body? Text number 2. Kastam chara chara gurum nirvairam santa vigraham atma ramam katam dveshti jagato daivatam mahat. Kaha who Daksha tam him Lord Shiva chara chara of the whole world, both animate and inanimate, gurum the spiritual master, nirvairam without enmity, santa vigraham having a peaceful personality, atmaramam satisfied in himself, katham how, dveshti hates, jagata of the universe, daivatam demigod, mahat the great. Translation. Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of the entire world, is free from enmity, is a peaceful personality, and is always satisfied in himself. He is the greatest among the demigods. How is it possible that Daksha could be inimical towards such an auspicious personality? Purport. Lord Shiva is described here as Charachara Guru, the spiritual master of all animate and inanimate objects. He is sometimes known as Bhutanatha, which means the worshipful deity of the dull-headed. Bhuta is also sometimes taken to indicate the ghost. Lord Shiva takes charge of reforming persons who are ghosts and demons, not to speak of others who are godly. Therefore, he is the spiritual master of everyone, both the dull and demoniac and highly learned Vaishnavas. It is also stated Vaishnavanam Yatha Sambhu. Sambhu Lord Shiva is the greatest of all Vaishnavas. On one hand, he is the worshipful object of the dull demons, and on the other, he is the best of all Vaishnavas or devotees, and he has a sampradaya called the Rudra Sampradaya. Even if he is an enemy, or is sometimes angry, such a personality cannot be object of envy. So Vidura, in astonishment, asked why he has taken as such, especially by Daksha. Daksha is also not an ordinary person. He is a Prajapati in charge of fathering population, and all his daughters are highly elevated, especially Sati. Sati means the most chaste. Whenever there is consideration of chastity, Sati, this wife of Lord Shiva and daughter of Daksha, is considered first. Vidura was astonished that there could possibly be so much enmity between Daksha, who was such a great man, the father of Sati, and Lord Shiva, the spiritual master of everyone, that the most chaste goddess Sati gave up her body in that quarrel. Text number 3. Etadakhya hi me brahman Yamatu svashurasya cha vidveshastu yata pranam statyaje tushtajan sati. Etad thus Akyahi, please tell me, to me, to me, Brahman, O Brahmana, Jamata, of the son-in-law, Lord Shiva, Swashurasya, of the father-in-law, Daksha. Cha and Vitvesha quarrel, 2 as 2. Yata, from what cause? Pranan, her life. Tatyaje gave up. Tushtajan, which is impossible to give up. Sati. Translation. Vidura therefore inquired, My dear Maitreya, would you kindly explain to me how such a son-in-law and such a father-in-law could quarrel so bitterly that the great goddess Sati could give up her life, with which it is not easy to part? Text number 4. Maitreya Uvacha Pura Vishvasrijam Satre Sametah Paramarshaya Tata Mara Gana Sarve Sanuga Munayo Gnaya. Maitreya Uvacha, the sage Maitreya said, Pura formerly, at the time of Svayambhuva Manu, Vishvasrajam, of the creators of the universe, Satre, at a sacrifice, Sameta, were assembled, Paramarishaya, the great sages, Tata, and also, Amaragana, the demigods, Sarve, all, Sa Anuga, along with their followers, Munaya, the philosophers, Agnaya, the fire gods. Translation. The sage Maitreya said, In a former time, the leaders of the universal creation performed a great sacrifice in which all the great sages, philosophers, demigods, and fire gods assembled with their followers. Purport. Upon being asked by Vidura, the sage Maitreya began to explain the cause of the misunderstanding between Lord Shiva and Daksha, because of which the goddess Sati gave up her body. Thus begins the history of a great sacrifice performed by the leaders of the universal creation, namely Marichi, Daksha, and Vashishta. The great personalities arranged for a great sacrifice, for which demigods like Indra and the fire gods assembled with their followers. Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva were also present. Text 5. Does anyone else want to read?
Tatra, I can read proof.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Tatra pravishtam rishayo tishtvarkam iva rochisha brajamanam vitimiram urvantam tanmahatsadaha. Tatra, there, pravishtam, having entered, rishayah, sages, drishtva, seeing, arkam, the sun, iva, just like, rachisha, with luster, brajamanam, shining, vitimiram, free from darkness, urvantam, making, that, mahat, great, sadaha, assembly. Translation and forward by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: When Daksha, the leader of the Prajapatis, entered the assembly, his personal bodily luster, as bright as that of the sun, the entire assembly was illuminated, and all the assembled personalities became insignificant in his presence. Text 6. Udatistan sadayaste swadishnebhih sahaganayah rite virincham sarvam cha tadbhashakupto chedashaha. Udadistan stood up. Sadashyaha, the members of the assembly, they Adeshneyabhyah, from their own seats, Saha Agnayah, along with the fire gods, Vite, except for Vrincham, Brahma, Sarvam Shiva, and that his Dakshas, Basha by the luster, Akshipta are influenced, Chetashaha, those whose minds. Translation: Influenced by his personal body luster, all the fire gods and other participants present in the great assembly, with the exceptions of Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, gave their own sitting places and stood in respect for Daksha. Text 7. Sadasaspati bir Daksho Bhagavan Sadhukat Krita Ajam Loka Gurum Tatva Nisasada Tad Agnaya. Sadasas of the assembly, Patibihi, by the leaders, Daksha, Daksha, Bhagavan, the possessor of the all appearances. Sadhu properly. Satkritaha was welcomed. Ajam to the unborn Brahma. Loka Gurum to the teacher of. You scroll down, bro. Loka Gurum, the teacher of the universe. Natva, making obeisances. Nisasada sat down. Tat Naya, by his order, Brahmas. Translation: Daksha was adequately welcomed by the president of the Great Assembly, Lord Brahma. And after offering him his respect, Daksha, by the order of Brahma, properly took his seat. Text 8. Anishinnam ridam drishtva namrishatad anadritah uvache vamam chakshurbyam abhivikshya dahan iva. Pran, before Nishannam, being seated. Mridam, Lord Shiva, Drishtva, seeing. Na Amrishyat, did not tolerate. Tat, by him, Shiva. Anadritah, not being respected. Uvacha, said. Vamam, dishonest. Shakshurbyam, with both eyes. Abhivikshya, looking at. Dahan, burning, Iva, as if. Translation: before taking his seat, however, Daksha was very much offended to see Lord Shiva sitting there and not showing any respect to him. At that time, he became greatly angry, and his eyes glowing, he began to speak strongly against him. So, Lord Shiva, being the son-in-law of Daksha, was expected to show his father-in-law respect by standing with the others. But because Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva are the principal demigods, their positions were greater than Daksha's. Daksha, however, could not tolerate this, and he took it as an insult by his son-in-law. Previously, also, he was not very much satisfied with Lord Shiva because Lord Shiva looked very poor and was neglectfully in dress. Text 9. श्रूयतां ब्रह्मर्षयो मे सह देवा सह गणः सहाग्नयः साधूनां ब्रुवतो वृत्तं नाज्ञानं च मत्सरात्. Shruyataam, here, Brahmarshayah, O sages among the Brahmanas, may unto me, Sahadevaha, O demigods, Saha Agnayah, O fire gods, Sadhunam, of the gentle, Bruvataha, speaking, Vrittam, the manners, na, not, Achnan, Achnanath, from ignorance, nurture, not, and not, Matsarat, from envy. Translation: all sages, Brahmanas, and fire gods present there, please hear me with attention, for I am speaking about the manners of gentle persons. I am not speaking out of ignorance or envy. Purport: in speaking against Lord Shiva, Daksha tried to pacify the assembly by presenting in a very tactful way that he was going to speak about the manners of gentle persons, although unmannerly upstarts, and the assembly might be unhappy because they did not want even unmannerly persons to be offended. In other words, he was in complete knowledge that he was speaking against Lord Shiva in spite of Shiva's spotless character. As far as envy is concerned, from the very beginning he was envious of Lord Shiva. Therefore, he could not distinguish his own particular envy. Although he spoke like a man in ignorance, he wanted to cover his statements by saying that he was not speaking for impudent and envious reasons. Text 10. Ayam tu loka patanam, ayam tu loka palanam, yashokno nirapatrapah, sadbir acharita panta, yena stabdena dusitah. I am he, Shiva, too, but Loka Palanam, or the governors of the universe. Yashak Naha, spoiling the fame. Nirapatrapaha, shameless. Shadbihi, by those of gentle manner. Acharitaha, followed. Pantaha, the path. Ena, by whom Shiva. Stabdena, being devoid of proper actions. Dusitaha is polluted. Translation and proper version. Translation: Shiva has spoiled the name and fame of the governors of the universe and has polluted the path of gentle manners. Because he is shameless, he does not know how to act. Puppet, Daksha wanted to impress upon the minds of all the great sages assembled in the meeting that Shiva, being one of the demigods, had ruined the good reputations of all the demigods by his unmannerly behavior. The words used against Lord Shiva by Daksha can also be understood in a different way, in a good sense. For example, he stated that Shiva is Yasogna, which means one who spoils name and fame. So this can also be interpreted to mean that he was so famous that his fame killed all other fame. Mm. Okay. Again, he used the word nirapatrapa, which also can be used in two senses. One sense is one who is stunted, and another sense is one who is a maintainer of persons who have no other shelter. Generally, Lord Shiva is known as the Lord of the Bhutas, or lower grade of living creatures. They take shelter of Lord Shiva because he is very kind to everyone and is very quickly satisfied. Therefore, he is called Ashutosha. To such men who cannot approach other demigods or Vishnu, Lord Shiva gives shelter. Therefore, the word Nirapatrapa can be used in that sense. So you use the words tactfully in a way that it is not offending or it's wrong. Next level.
Yes, bro.
एष मे शिष्यतां प्राप्तो यन्मे दुहितुरागृहीत् पाणिं विप्राग्निमुखतः सावित्र्या इव साधुवत्. Yes, already translation. Sorry. Esha, he, Shiva, me, my, Shishyatam, subordinate person, position. Praptah, accepted, yet, because, me, Duhituhu, of my daughter. Agrahit, he took Panim, the hand. Vipra Agni, of Brahmanas and fire. Mukataha, in the presence. Savitriyaha, Gayatri, Iva, like, Sadhuvat, like an honest person. Translation. He has already accepted himself as my subordinate by marrying my daughter in the presence of fire and Brahmanas. He has married my daughter, who is equal to Gayatri, and has pretended to be just like an honest person. Purport. Daksha's statement that Lord Shiva pretended to be an honest person means that Lord Shiva was not honest. Because in spite of accepting the position of Daksha's son-in-law, he was not respectful to Daksha. How much envy. Text 12. गृहीत्वा मृगशावाक्ष्या पाणिं मर्कतलोचनः प्रत्युत्थानविवादो हि विवोदार्हि वाचापि अकृतनोचितम्. गृहीत्वा, taking, mrigoshav, like a deer cub. Akshaya, of she who has eyes. Panim, the hand. Markata, of a monkey. Lochanaha, of he who has the eyes. Pratyuttana, of rising from one seat. Abhivada, the honor. Arhe, to me, who deserves. Vacha, with sweet words. Api, even. Akritana, he did not do. Uchitam, honor. Translation. He has eyes like a monkey's, yet he has married my daughter, whose eyes are just like those of a deer cub. Nevertheless, he did not stand up to receive me, nor did he think if fit to welcome me with sweet words. Text 13. Luptakviyaya suchaye imani ne binnasetave anichan api adambatham Shudrayevo satim guram. Luptakriyaya, not observing rules and regulations. Asvachaye, include. Manine, proud. Binna setave, having broken all rules of civility. Anichan, not desiring. Api, also. Adam, handed over. If you could scroll down. Balam, my daughter, Sudraya, unto a Sudra, Shiva as Usati Giram, the message of my Vedas, the message of the Vedas. Translation: I had no desire to give my daughter to this person who has broken all rules of civility. Because of his because of his not observing the required rules and regulations, he is impure. But I was obliged to hand over my daughter to him, just as one teaches the messages of the Vedas to a Shudra. But a Shudra is forbidden to take lessons from the Vedas because a Shudra, due to his unclean habits, is not worthy to hear such instructions. This restriction, unless one who has acquired the Brahminical qualifications, one should not read the Vedic literatures, is just like the restriction that a law student should not enter a law college unless he has graduated all lower grades. According to the estimation of Daksha, Shiva was unclean in habits and not worthy to have the hand of his daughter, Sati, who was so enlightened, beautiful, and chaste. The word used in this connection is Binna Setave, which means one who has broken all the regulations for good behavior by not following the Vedic principles. In other words, according to Daksha, the entire transaction of the marriage of his daughter to Shiva was not in order. It's 14:15. Pretavasheshu goreshu preterbhutaganairvritah atati unmattavanagno yuptakeshu hasanrudan chitabhashma kritasnana pretasranrashiti bhushana Shiva padesho hi ashivo matto matta janapriya pati pramatanathanam tamo matra makatmanam preta ave Preta avasheshu at the burning places of dead bodies, Koreshu horrible, Pretaihi by the Pretas, Bhuta Ganehi by the Bhutas, Vritaha accompanied by Atati, he wanders, Unmattavat like a madman, Nagnaha naked, Yukta Keshaha having scattered hair, Hasan laughing, Rudan crying, Sita of the funeral pyre, Basma with the ashes, Kritasnyana taking bath, Preta of the skulls of dead bodies, struck having a garland, Nirasti Bhushanaha, ornamented with dead man's bones. Shiva Apadesha, who's Shiva or auspicious only in name. E for Ashivaha, inauspicious. Mattaha, crazy. Matta Janapriya, very dear to the crazy beings. Patihi, leader, the leader. Pramatta Nathana, of the words of the lords of the Pramatas. Tamaha Matra Atmaka Atmanam, of those grossly in the mode of ignorance. Of those grossly in the modes of ignorance. Translation: he lives in filthy places like crematoriums, and his companions are the ghosts and demons. Naked like a madman, sometimes laughing and sometimes crying, he smears crematorium ashes all over his body. He does not bathe regularly, and he ornaments his body with a garland of skulls and bones. Therefore, only in name he is Shiva or auspicious. Actually, he is the most mad and inauspicious creature. Thus, he is very dear to crazy beings who are in the gross mode of ignorance, and he is the leader.
Hare
Puppet.
Krishna Buddhanotram.
Hare Krishna,
Prabhu,
another Pavashla.
can you read little slow because I am not getting all.
Yes, Prabhu. I will read slow. Puppet. Those who do not regularly bathe are supposed to be in association with ghosts and crazy creatures. Lord Shiva appeared to be like that, but his name Shiva is actually fitting, for he is very kind to persons who are in the darkness of the mode of ignorance, such as unclean drunkards who do not regularly bathe. Lord Shiva is so kind that he gives shelter to such creatures and gradually elevates them to spiritual consciousness. Although it is very difficult to raise such creatures to spiritual understanding, Lord Shiva takes charge of them, and therefore, as stated in the Vedas, Lord Shiva is all auspicious. Thus, by his association, even such fallen souls can be elevated. Sometimes it is seen that great personalities meet with fallen souls, not for any personal interest, but for the benefit of those souls. In the creation of the Lord, There are different kinds of living creatures. Some of them are in the mode of goodness, some are in the mode of passion, and some are in the mode of ignorance. Lord Vishnu takes charge of persons who are advanced Krishna conscious Vaishnavas, and Lord Brahma takes charge of persons who are very much attached to material activities. But Lord Shiva is so kind that he takes charge of persons who are in gross ignorance and whose behavior is lower than that of animals. Therefore, Lord Shiva is especially called auspicious. Thank you very much, Prabhu, for the opportunity for me to take leave.
Haribo.
Prabhu.
Lucky,
Prabhu.
lucky Jai.
Jai. Thank you so
Jai.
much.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
So we can read some few more verses. Who wants to read?
Yes, I am back. I can read now.
Go.
Text 16. Tasma unmada nathaya nashta sauchaya durhrude dattavata maya sadvi chodite parameshtina. Synonyms. Tasmai, to him. Unmada nathaya, to the Lord of Ghosts. Nasta sauchaya, being devoid of all cleanliness. Durhrude, heart filled with nasty things. Datta was given. Bata, alas, maya, by me. Sadhvi, sati, chodite, being requested. Parameshtina, by the supreme teacher Brahma. Translation. On the request of Lord Brahma, I handed over my chaste daughter to him, although he is devoid of all cleanliness and his heart is filled with nasty things. Purport. It is the duty of parents to hand over their daughters to suitable persons, just befitting their family tradition in cleanliness, gentle behavior, wealth, social position, etc. Daksha was repentant that on the request of Brahma, who was his father, he had handed over his daughter to a person who, according to his calculation, was nasty. He was so angry that he did not acknowledge that the request was from his father. He referred to Brahma as Parameshti, the supreme teacher in the universe. Because of his temperament of cross anger, he was not even prepared to accept Brahma as his father. In other words, he accused even Brahma of being less intelligent because he had advised Daksha to hand over his beautiful daughter to such a nasty fellow. In anger, one forgets everything, and thus Daksha, in anger, not only accused the great Lord Shiva, but he criticized his father, Lord Brahma, for his not even he's not very Sanjin advised that Daksha hand over his daughter to Lord Shiva. Text 17. Maitreya vacha vinindhyaivam sa girisham apratipam avastitam dakshothapa upasprisya ruddha Saptum Prachakrame. Synonyms. Maitreya Vacha. Maitreya said, Vinindya, abusing, Evam, thus, Saha, he, Daksha, Girisham, Siva, Apratipam, without any hostility, Avastitam, remaining, Daksha, Daksha, Atha, now, Apaha, water, Upasprisya, washing hands and mouth, Kruddha, angry, Saptum, to curse, Prachakrame, began to. Translation. The sage Maitreya continued, thus Daksha, seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him, washed his hands and mouth and cursed him in the following words. Text 18. Ayam tu deva yajan indropendradi bhirbhavaha sahabhagam na labhatam devair ganadhamaha. Synonyms. Ayam, he. Ayam, that, to, but, Deva Yajna, in the sacrifice of the demigods, Indra, Upendra, Adivihi with Indra, Upendra, and others, Bhavaha, Shiva, Saha, with along with Bhagam, a portion, not Labhatam, should obtain Devaihi with the demigods, Deva Gana Adhamaha, the lowest of all the demigods. Translation: the demigods are eligible to share in the obligations of sacrifice, but Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all the demigods, should not have a share. Purport: due to this curse, Shiva was deprived of his share in the obligations of Vedic sacrifices. It is due to the curse of Daksha. Sri Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur comments in this connection that Lord Shiva was saved from the calamity of taking part with other demigods who were all materialistic. Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is not fitting for him to eat or sit with materialistic persons like the demigods. Thus, the curse of Daksha was indirectly a blessing, for he would not have to eat or sit with other demigods who were too materialistic. There is a practical example set for us by Gaurav Kishore Das Baba Ji Maharaj, who used to sit on the side of a latrine to chant Hare Krishna. Many materialistic persons used to come and bother him and disturb his daily routine of chanting. So, to avoid their company, he used to sit by the side of a latrine where materialistic persons would not go because of the filth and the obnoxious smell. However, Gaurakishore Das Babaji Maharaj was so great that he was accepted as the supreme spiritual master of such a great personality as his divine grace. Om Vishnupada Sri Śrīmad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. The conclusion is that Lord Shiva behaved in his own way to avoid materialistic persons who might disturb him in his prosecution of devotional service. Text
Jai.
19. Text 19. निषिध्यमानः स सदस्य मुख्यैः दृक्षो गिरित्रय विसृज्य शापं तस्माद् विनिष्क्रम्य विवृद्ध मन्युर्जगाम कौरव्य निजं निकेतनं synonyms. निषिध्यमानः, being requested not to, saha, he, Daksha, Sadasya Mukhyaihi, by the members of the sacrifice, Daksha, Giritraya, to Shiva, Visrijya, giving Shapam a curse, Tasmat, from that place, Vinishkramya, going out, Vivriddham Manyuhu, being exceedingly angry, Jagama, went, Kauravya, O Vidura, Nijam, to his own Niketanam, home. Translation: Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, in spite of the requests of all the members of the sacrificial assembly, Daksha, in great anger, cursed Lord Shiva and then left the assembly and went back his home. Purport: anger is so detrimental that even a great personality like Daksha, out of anger, left the arena where Brahma was presiding, and all the great sages and pious and saintly persons were assembled. All of them requested him not to leave, but infuriated, he left, thinking that the auspicious place was not fit for him. Puffed up by his exalted position, he thought that no one was greater than him in argument. It appears that all the members of the assembly, including Lord Brahma, requested him not to be angry and leave their company, but in spite of all these requests, he left. That is the effect of cruel anger. In the Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is advised that one who desires to make tangible advancement in spiritual consciousness must avoid three things: lust, anger, and the mode of passion, kama, krodha, rajoha. Actually, we can see that lust, anger, and passion make a man crazy even though he be as great as Daksha. The very name Daksha suggests that he was expert in all material activities, but still, because of his aversion towards such a saintly personality as Shiva, He was attacked by these three enemies: anger, lust, and passion. Lord Chaitanya therefore advised that one should be very careful not to offend Vaishnavas. He has compared offenses towards a Vaishnava to a mad elephant. As a mad elephant can do anything horrible, so when a person offends a Vaishnava, he can perform any abominable action. Text 20. Vijnaya Shapam गिरीशानुगाग्रैर्नीर नन्दीश्वरो रोष कषाय दूष्टितः दक्षाय शापं विस विससर्ज दारुणं ये चान्यमोदंस् तद् अवाच्यतां द्विजाः synonyms Vijnaya, understanding, Shapam, the curse, Girisha of Shiva, Anuga, Agrinaha. One of the principal associates, Nandishvara, Rosha, anger, Kasaya, red, Dushitaha, blinded, Dakshaya, to Daksha, Shapam, a curse, Vishasarja. Come down, bro, Vishasarja. What does Vishasarja mean? Swami Prabhu, where are you? Oh,
I think his battery is dead.
Yes, Prabhu, it's crashed.
Okay, Visasarja gave Narunam Harsha, A, Hu, Cha, and Anvamodan tolerated Tat Avachyam Tam, the cursing of Shiva, Trijaha Brahmanas. Translation: Nandishvara, one of the principal associates of Lord Shiva, upon understanding that Lord Shiva had been cursed, became greatly angry. His eyes became red, and he also prepared to curse Daksha and all the Brahmanas present there, who tolerated Daksha's cursing Shiva in harsh words. Purport: there is a long standing dissension among some of the neophyte Vaishnavas and Shaivites. They are always at loggerheads. When Daksha cursed Lord Shiva in harsh words, some of the Brahmanas present might have enjoyed it because some Brahmanas do not very much admire Lord Shiva. This is due to their ignorance of Lord Shiva's position. Nandiswara was also affected by the cursing, but he did not follow the example of Lord Shiva, who was also present there. Lord Shiva could also have cursed Daksha in a similar way, but he was silent and tolerant. Nandishwara, his follower, however, was not tolerant. Of course, as a follower, he was right for him not to tolerate, maybe. Come on, Ru. Yeah, not to tolerate an insult to his master, but he should not have also cursed the Brahmanas who were present. The entire issue was so complicated that those who were not strong enough forget their positions, and thus cursing and counter cursing went on in that great assembly. In other words, the material field is so unsteady that even personalities like Nandishvara, Daksha, and many of the Brahmanas present were also infected by the atmosphere of anger. Next 21. Yetan matyam uddisya bhagavati aprati druhi druhyati ajnah pritag drishtis tatvato vimukho bhavet. Synonyms: yaha, who, Raksha, yetat Matyam, his body, Uddishya, with reference to Bhagavati, to Shiva, Apratidrutihi, who is not envious, Druhyati, bears envy, Agnaha, less intelligent persons, Pratak Drishtihi, the vision of duality, Tattva, Tattvataha, from transcendental knowledge, Vimukhyaha, bereft, Bhavet, may become. Translation: anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and has neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is a less intelligent person, and because of visualizing in duality will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. Purport. The first curse in this connection by Nandiswara was that anyone supporting Daksha was foolishly identifying himself with the body, and therefore, because Daksha had no transcendental knowledge, supporting him would deprive one of transcendental knowledge. Daksha, Nandiswara said, identified himself with the body like other materialistic persons and was trying to derive all kinds of facilities in relationship with the body. He had excessive attachment for the body and bodily relations like wife, children, home, and other such things which are different from the soul. Therefore, Nandishwara's curse was that anyone who supported Daksha would be bereft of transcendental knowledge of the soul and thus also be deprived of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Text 22. Griheshu kotadharmeshu sakto gramya sukhechaya karmatantriam vitanute devavada vipanna dihi. Synonyms: griheshu, in householder life, kota dharmeshu, of pretentious religiosity, saktaha, being attracted, gramya sukha ichchaya, by desire for material happiness, karma tantriam, fruitive activities, Vitanute, he performs Veda Vada by the explanation of the Vedas, Vipanodhihi, intelligence being lost. Translation: pretentious religious householder life in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus also attracted to the superficial explanation of the Vedas robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all. Purport: persons who identify with bodily existence are attached to the fruitive activities described in the Vedic literature. For example, in the Vedas, it is said that one who observes the Chaturmasya vow will attain eternal happiness in the heavenly kingdom. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that this flowery language of the Vedas mostly attracts persons who identify with the body. To them, such happiness as that of the heavenly kingdom is everything. They do not know that beyond that there is the spiritual kingdom or kingdom of God, and they have no knowledge that one can go there. Thus, they are bereft of transcendental knowledge. Such persons are very careful in observing the rules and regulations of household life in order to be promoted in the next life to the moon or other heavenly planets. It is stated here that such persons are attached to Gramya Sukha, which means material happiness, without knowledge of eternal, blissful, spiritual life. Text 23. Buddhya paravidhyainya vismrtatmagatihi pashuhu stri kama sostvi atitaram daksho basta mukho chirat. Synonyms: buddhya, by intelligence; para, avidyainya, by accepting the body as the self; vismruta, atma gatihi, having forgotten the knowledge of Vishnu; pasuhu, an animal; stri kamaha, attached to sex life; saha, he; daksha, astu, let; atitaram, excessive; dakshaha, daksha; basta, mukha, the face of a goat; achirat, in a very short time. Translation: Daksha has accepted the body as all in all. Therefore, since he has forgotten the Vishnupada or Vishnugati, and is attached to sex life only, within a short time he will have the face of a goat. This is the second curse.
Yes, Prabhu. What was the first one? Oh, what was here said? Let's see. I missed it. Yes, Prabhu.
What is the first curse, Prabhu?
First
The
curse
first-
was who supports Daksha will become less intelligent and will be attached to the body. I think that is the one.
Okay,
Can go back.
that's the one.
One second.
The previous verse.
Nandishvara, upon understanding the Lord Shiva became great. His eyes red and all the Brahmanas that they were cursing Shiva. Come down, Prabhu. This is like this. Harsh words. Next one. Yeah. Next one is the curse, the first curse. Anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and has neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is less intelligent person. Yeah. And being of visualizing in duality will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. Yes.
Yes,
One
Prabhu.
who supports Daksha will become less intelligent person and will be devoid of transcendental knowledge. Second verse
Yes,
is
Prabhu.
Daksha will get the face of a goat
Oh, Krishna.
soon.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, Prabhu. Interesting.
Text 24. Vidya buddhir avidyayam karma mayyam asau jadaha samsa sam anu sarvavamaninam synonyms vidya buddhi materialistic education and intelligence avidyayam in science karma mayyam form of fruitive activities asau he daksha jadaha dull samsarantu let them take birth again and again yaha here in this world ye who cha and amum daksha anu following sarva shiva avamaninam insulting. Translation: those who have become as dull as matter by cultivating materialistic education and intelligence are essentially involved in fruitive activities. Such men have purposely insulted Lord Shiva. May they continue in the cycle of repeated birth and death. This is the third curse. Purport, yeah. The three curses mentioned above are sufficient to make one as dull as stone, void of spiritual knowledge, and preoccupied with materialistic education, which is nescience. After uttering these words, Nandishvara then cursed the Brahmanas to continue in the cycle of birth and death because of their supporting Daksha in blaspheming Lord Shiva. Text 25. Graha Sutayaha पुष्पिण्या मधु गंधेन धूरिना मथना चोन्मत्थितात्मानः संयुह्यान्तु हर द्विषः synonyms गिरः words Shrutayah of the Vedas Pushpinyah flowery Madhu Gandhena with the scent of honey, Bhurina profuse, Matra enchanting cha and Unmattita Atmanaha whose mind have become dull, Samuhyantu let them remain attached, Haradvishaha envious of Lord Shiva. Synonyms, translation. May those who are envious of Lord Shiva, being attracted by the flowery language of the enchanting Vedic promises, and who have thus become dull, always remain attached to fruitive activities. Purport: the Vedic promises of elevation to higher planets for a better standard of materialistic life are compared to flowery language, because in a flower there is certainly an aroma, but that aroma does not last for a very long time. In a flower there is honey, but that honey is also not eternal. Text 26. Sarvabhaksha Dvija Vrityai Dhrita Vidya Tapo Prataha Vitta Dehendriya Rama Yachaka Vicharan synonyms Sarva Bhakshaha, eating everything, Dvijaha, the Brahmanas, Vrityai, for maintaining the body, Dhrita Vidya, having taken to education, Tapaha, austerity, Prataha, and vows, Vitta, money, Deha, the body, Indriya, the senses, Aramaha, the satisfaction, Yachakaha, as beggars, Vicharantu, let them wander. Yeah, here. Translation: these Brahmanas take to education, austerity, and vows only for the purpose of maintaining the body. They shall be devoid of discrimination between what is to eat and what is not to eat. They will acquire money begging from door to door simply for the satisfaction of the body. Purport: the third curse which was inflicted by Nandiswara on the Brahmanas was who supported Daksha is completely functioning in the age of Kali. Exactly. The so-called Brahmanas are no longer interested in understanding the nature of the Supreme Brahman. Although a Brahmana means one who has attained knowledge about Brahman. In the Vedanta Sutra also it is stated, Atato Brahma Jignasa. This human form of life is meant for realization of the Supreme Brahman or absolute truth, or in other words, human life is meant for one's elevation to the post of a Brahmana. Unfortunately, the modern Brahmanas or so-called Brahmanas who come in originally Brahmanical families have left their own occupational duties, but they do not allow others to occupy the posts of Brahmanas. The qualifications for Brahmanas are described in the scriptures in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Bhagavad Gita, and all other Vedic literatures. Brahmana is not a hereditary title or position. If someone from a non-Brahmana family, for example, one born in the family of Sudras, tries to become a Brahmana by being properly qualified under the instruction of a bona fide spiritual master, these so-called Brahmanas will object. Such Brahmanas, being cursed by Nandiswara, are actually in a position where they have no discrimination between eatables and non-eatables, and simply live to maintain the perishable material body and its family. Such fallen conditioned souls are not worthy to be called Brahmanas. But in Kali Yuga, they claim to be Brahmanas, and if a person actually tries to attain the Brahmanical qualities, they try to hinder this progress. This is the situation in the present age. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu condemned this principle very strongly. During his conversation with Ramananda Raya, he said that regardless of whether a person is born in a Brahmana family or Shudra family, regardless of whether he is a householder or a sannyasi, if he knows the science of Krishna, he must be a spiritual master. He had many so-called Sudra disciples like Haridas Thakur and Ramananda Raya. Even the Goswamis, who were principal students of Lord Chaitanya, were also ostracized from Brahmana society. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by his grace, made them first-class Vaishnavas.
Ribol. Okay, last one.
Text 27. Tasyevam Vadatah Shapam Srutva Dvija Kulaya Vai Bhrugu Pratyasrijachapam Brahmadandam Duratyayam. Tasya is Nandiswaras. Evam, this. Come up, Prabhu. What is the third one? Third word. Evam. Come down, come up. Let's say Vadatah words, Shapam, the curse, Srutva, hearing, Divija, Kulaya, unto the Brahmanas, why, indeed, Bhrigu, Pratyasrijat, made, Shapam, a curse, Brahmadandam, the punishment of a Brahmana, Duratyayam, insurmountable. This is another curse coming up. Translation by Bhrigu. When all the hereditary Brahmanas were thus cursed by Nandiswara, the sage Bhrigu, as a reaction, condemned the followers of Lord Shiva with this very strong Brahmanical curse. Purport. The word Durityaya is particularly used in reference to a Brahmadanda or curse by a Brahmana. A curse by a Brahmana is very strong, therefore it is called Duratyaya or insurmountable. As the Lord states in the Bhagavad Gita, the stringent laws of nature are insurmountable. Similarly, if a curse is uttered by a Brahmana, that curse is also insurmountable. But Bhagavad Gita also says that the curses or benedictions of the material world are, after all, material creations. The Chaitanya Charitamrita also confirms that that which is accepted in the material world to be a benediction and that which is taken to be a curse are both on the same platform because they are material. To get out of this material contamination, one should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead as recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. The best path is to transcend all material curses and benedictions and take shelter of the Supreme Lord Krishna and remain in a transcendental position. Persons who have taken shelter of Krishna are always peaceful. They are never cursed by anyone, nor do they attempt to curse anyone. That is a transcendental position.
Haribol.
Oh,
Now they're just cursing everyone.
Yes.
Okay, next time we read
Lord
about
Shiva
the
Ki Jai.
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 Okay,
Hare
now
Krishna
let's read
Prabhupada,
Shloka.
note from to all of you.
Hare Krishna Shubham Prabhu Dandar Pranam Jai Shri Prabhupada. Oh, Hare Krishna Sodhiraj Prabhu Dandar Pranam Jai Shri Prabhupada. And Rishikesh Prabhu also Dandar Pranam Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Nam Jai Shri Prabhupada.
So now the reading session is becoming earlier because summer is coming.
That's
Prabhu,
good,
time
Prabhu.
for a
That's
lot of
good.
book distribution. Book distribution, Prabhu, Sami Prabhu.
Yes,
Summer is
Prabhu.
coming.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu.
First, he will go to, have the sun distribution.
Yes, Prabhu.
Because now it's very hard. So first the sun, then we will see book distribution.
Yes, Prabhu. This is true, actually.
Yes, Prabhu.
I have my books ready. And my son had out already.
Haribol.
Okay, wants to start?
Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamahadavagnirvapanam Shreya Kairavachandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jeevanam Anandambudivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamrutaswadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam नामकारि बहुधा निज सर्वशक्तिस् तत्रार्पिता नियमिता स्मरणेन कालः एतादृशी तव कृपा भगवन् ममापि दुर्दैवमीदृशं ह्याजनि अनुरागः तृणादपि सुनीचेन करोरपि सहिष्णुना अमानिना मानदेन कीर्तने सदा हरिः न धनं न जनं न सुन्दरीं कवितां वा जगदीश कामये मम जन्मनि जन्मनीश्वरे भवतात् भक्तिरहेतुकी त्वयि ऐनन्दतनुज किङ्करं पतितं मां विषमे भवाम्बुधौ कृपया तव पादपङ्कजस्थितधूळि सदृशं विचिन्तया नैनं गरदश्रुधारया वदनं गद्गदहृदया गिरा पुलकैर्निचितं वपुः कदा तव नाम ग्रहणे भविष्यति युगायितं निमेषेण चक्षुषा प्राविशायितं शून्यायितं जगत्सर्वं गोविन्दविरहेण मे आश्लिष्य वा पादरतां पिनष्टु माम् अदर्शनं मर्महतां करोतु वा यथा तथा वा विदधातु लम्पटो मत्प्राणनाथस्तु स एव नापरः.
Haribol. Glory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life of repeated birth and death. The Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Lord Shiva, Lord names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by chanting your holy names. But I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Oh, Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accommodate with Lord, the desire beautiful women. Lord, I want a number of followers. I only want a constant devotion service for after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I may return on servitude. Somehow or other I have fallen to this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from the ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet.
O my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up and when will the hair of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? O Govinda, fearing your separation, I am considering a moment like to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly in his embrace or makes me broken hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord unconditionally. श्री शिक्षाष्टकम की जय,
Jai,
चैतन्य महाप्रभु की
Jai,
जय,
Jai,
Jai, Jai,
श्रील
Jai,
प्रभुपाद की जय.
Jai.
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 Janma Karyadi Shavana Kirtan, Taputana Paya Krishna Pade Premadan. Ipani is infested with the 10 offenses in the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Despite his endeavor to chant the holy name for many birds, he will not get the love of God. That is the ultimate goal of this chanting. The 10 offenses against the chanting are as follows. The first offense is to blaspheme the devotees who have dedicated their lives for propagating the holy name of the Lord.
Second offense is to consider the names of demigods like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma to be equal to or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. Third offense is to disobey the orders of the spiritual master and consider him as an ordinary person. Fourth offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature or literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. Fifth offense is to consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be an imagination. Sixth offense is to give some interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. Seventh offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name of the Lord. Eighth offense is to consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities offered in the Vedas as fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. Ninth offense is to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. Tenth offense is not to have complete faith in the chanting of the holy names and to maintain material attachments even after understanding so many instructions on this matter. It is also an offense to be inattentive, while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses in order to quickly achieve the desired success. Krishna Prema. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and they are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhyobhye evacha patithanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrundi ki
Jai.
Jai. Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
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 All glories to the
Jai
assembled
Gaura
devotees.
Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari
All
Bol.
glories to Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for joining the reading session. It was very nice.
Hari
Thank you
Bol.
so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
See you again
Hare
tomorrow.
Krishna. Jai Shri